Hello everyone, Dr. Carrillo here. Welcome to a new week of learning and graded assignments. My goals in this video include the following. I want to stress the importance of task 1 and task 2, that is with respect to how your engagement with commitment to the learning process impacts grades throughout the semester. Most students do a really good job following each step that I provide in the task folders, especially task 2. Working through the material exactly as instructed and writing in the video is integral to doing well in the future because I'm not going to repeat the lessons that I give, and yet you have to apply them for a grade at least 6 times. Also, task 2 is a foundational task when it comes to analyzing arguments, and we're going to build on that in the weeks that come, so you've got to establish a good foundation. I'll say more about that probably later in the bundle in another video. Okay, so moving along, another important goal that I have for us in this video is that I am going to show you a new way that, something else about adaptive learning that I might not have covered during the orientation. So I want to make sure that you're aware of how the adaptive learning is going to work specifically with respect to week 4. All right, so let's start with a little context. So during week 3, and if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking down at my script. That helps me to not waste time in the video trying to recall points I want to make, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so during week 3, you learn more about the importance of doing ethics and the philosopher's approach to doing just that. You also learned about intellectual virtue generally. Do you remember any of the words from the definition for intellectual virtue? So remember, generally speaking, the gist of intellectual virtue is the character traits of good thinkers and learners, and in addition to what the module says, I say, and communicators. So task 1, during week 3, you did learn more about the importance of these, and you got a general introduction to intellectual virtue. Task 1 of week 4 consists of 4 short soft talk modules. There are no videos this time for any soft talk modules with respect to intellectual virtue. Each of the intellectual virtue soft talk modules that comprise task 1 will take about 15 to 20 minutes each to complete. Each one provides a more in-depth lesson on the 4 kinds of intellectual virtue referenced during your first soft talk module during task 2 of week 3. Do you remember the names of any of the kinds of intellectual virtue that were exemplified and defined during week 3? So there was intellectual humility, intellectual empathy, intellectual perseverance, and intellectual courage. Okay, now as stated during the week 3 bundle intro, being mindful of and attempting to manifest intellectual virtue will be useful to you in this course as well as your academics and beyond. In the context of this course, I will be using the respective concepts explicitly in writing, for example, in instructions or assignment documents, general reminders, and of course, instruction and coaching throughout the semester. Intellectual virtue focuses on what some would call soft skills, but what I call empowering traits of a person that lead to better command of technical, hard skills associated with critical thinking, problem solving, effective communication, the pursuit of truth, the development of wisdom, and making good choices, all oriented towards and integral to constructing and living the good life. Now, let's talk about task 2 for just a minute. Task 2 of week 4 is focused on a concept we have already spent some time on, that is, argument. Do you happen to remember any of the words from the definition for argument? So remember, an argument is a set of statements, so there's at least 2 statements, and remember we have a very technical definition for the word statement, where at least one, a reason, is given in support of what? Another, a conclusion. In the argument module that you do, you're going to do a soft talk module during task 2 that focuses on argument. You're going to be given an initial definition that is very aligned with the one that you got during week 2, but then you're going to get what I call our official technical definition within that soft talk module as well. Be sure to watch the video that goes with the task 2 soft talk module because we're actually going to go over some of the answers. Yes, we already went over that definition very quickly. What I want to iterate now is that there is so much more that we need to know about and apply when it comes to arguments. We have only scratched the surface when first learning about arguments during week 2. That is when we learned about them from the standpoint of logic. Remember, logic being a branch of philosophy itself. Now, that argument is a core concept of thinking philosophically about ethics is evident in your ebook. An entire chapter, that is chapter 3, is devoted to the logician's concept of an argument in chapter 3. The focus of chapter 3, or the big picture for chapter 3, is what does it mean to engage in moral reasoning in an enlightened way. We'll get to chapter 3 eventually, but don't worry about it right now. This week, you're going to focus, when it comes to expanding your knowledge of arguments, you're going to focus on what is presented in task 2. So you'll be given new information, new details, and a more in-depth treatment of how philosophers, from the standpoint of logic, think about argument. During week 4, we are going to learn how to analyze arguments. So we focused on constructing arguments during week 2, and now we're going to focus on analyzing arguments like a logician, like a philosopher, like an ethicist, whether it's our own arguments, the arguments of our peers, our friends, our families, our coworkers, our colleagues, our other professors, those of the philosophers that we engage with, people in social media, when we hear congressmen, representatives, county officials out there trying to back up some claim or justify an action. What you learn is going to help you make more sense of, analyze, and eventually evaluate the arguments of others as well as your own. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about that. What I want to now show you is how adaptive learning is going to work specifically during week 4. So with that, I'm going to reverse the camera, turn the camera around. You should now see right here it says week 4 bundle, more on intellectual virtue, and then analyzing arguments in this class. That's a semicolon, so note that there's 2 different topics. As I pointed out during orientation, I do sometimes use adaptive learning. And so here, if you compare what you see in here to what you see in the official course schedule, you will see that you only see week 4 task 1. You do not see week 4 task 2. So this automatically tells you, if you're using what I said during orientation for my mega strategy, that, this automatically shows you that, that's why that's so important. It iterates that. So the reason why you don't see task 2, of course, is because I'm using adaptive learning. So the idea here is that you have to go in here and complete everything there is to complete. So here are those 4 soft talk modules that I was telling you about. I hope you took really good notes and really engaged with the coaching and instructional video I did for the first soft talk module on intellectual virtue, because I'm not going to repeat any of those lessons, warnings, and tips, but you should use what I discussed and talked about with respect to doing soft talk modules when completing these in here. Okay, so I went into all of these as a student but I didn't film it, and I clicked finish on the last page of each module so I could submit the scores to Blackboard and hence my gradebook in the student view. You must make sure to click on finish for all of these on the very last page or your score will not be submitted. You do have to submit your scores for each and every task in here before the next item will appear in the bundle. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of that. Now, I don't see task 2 yet, so I might have to refresh my window. Okay, so at first task 2 did not appear for me because I thought I had submitted my results and clicked on finish for the last soft talk module, but I hadn't, so case in point. So then I went back and I clicked on finish, and so then, yes, now if you look and see, task 2 has appeared. Now, that said, let me back out of that. That is not the main thing that I wanted to show you because I've already shown you that kind of thing. What I want to show you here and emphasize is that within this content folder for task 2 of week 4, within this very folder, there will be adaptive learning as well. So in week 4, there's adaptive learning for the bundle itself and access to task 2, but even within task 2, there is adaptive learning. So what you're going to see when you get to task 2 is you will only see task 2A and task 2B. Here you have another soft talk module, and I do have, I haven't posted them yet in this video, but by the time you get to this, you are going to see some videos that go over some of the answers and some of the tricky, quote unquote, I don't like that word, but I know students relate to it, areas of this module, so make sure you follow it. I'm going to try to keep the this video to 20 to 30 minutes. I want to be thorough, and like I said, we do go over some of the answers. But you have to submit this before you can see other items. So the course schedule is not only important for making sure making sure that you're aware of all tasks that might be using adaptive learning to get revealed to you or to appear, but even within a task folder, a content folder, you could have missing items, missing components. If you look at the course schedule for week 4, task 2, you will see that there are 2 things to submit. So you have this soft talk module here, right? Your first soft talk module on argument. But if you look at your course schedule, you'll see that there are 3 other components with 1 other submission. So I would have to submit this. So of course, you're going to work through it with me in the video. In the video, we'll work through some of this, and I'll give you hints and tips on how to do well on it. I'm just going to submit just for the sake of showing you the main point of this part of this video. So now that I have done that, now we should see access to the rest of it, but we don't. So let me pause the video and see what's going on. Okay, so what happened there was I had to refresh my page, and now that I have refreshed my the page for this particular task, I see the other components. So now you can see task 2C, and then we should see another component, but my adaptive feature for that part probably needs to be changed, so give me another second. So I'm not sure what happened, but there was nothing wrong with my settings, and then when I came back to this page, in addition to 2C, and you can compare this to the course schedule, I now see 2D and 2E. So it could be, this is something to keep in mind, that you need to refresh your page several times. You might even need to close your browser and open it back up. Hopefully you don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. But then here, you see that you have access now to a form you need to keep notes in. You're going to have to submit markups on the document. You see that there are some instructional coaching videos that you use, that makes use of the forms here, form or forms. And then you do submit evidence of your engagement with that. So, but the basic point is that within the week 4 task 2 content folder itself, the components themselves have there's at least 3 components that are using adaptive learning. So you must complete week 4 task 2A, week 4 task 2B before you can get 2C, 2D, and 2E to appear.